that you love one another, that your joy may be full. This is my commandment, that you love one another, that your joy may be full. That your joy may be full. That your joy may be full. This is my commandment, that you love one another, that your joy may be full. Bind us together, Lord, bind us together with cords that cannot be broken. Bind us together, Lord, bind us together, Lord, bind us together with love. Bind us together, Lord, bind us together, Lord, cords that cannot be broken. Bind us together, Lord, bind us together, Lord, bind us together with love. There is only one God. There is only one King. There is only one body. That is why we can sing. Bind us together, Lord, bind us together with cords that cannot be broken. Bind us together, Lord, bind us together, Lord, bind us together with love. Amen. I forgot to put the words on the back for me, so we made it. The last hymn tonight is hymn number 579, Shine, Jesus, Shine. Hymn 579. Lord, the light of your love is shining in the midst of the darkness shining. Jesus, light of the world, shine upon us. Set us free by the truth you now bring us. Shine on me. Shine on me. Shine, Jesus, shine. Fill this land with the Father's glory. Place, Spirit, place. Set our hearts on fire. Flow, river, flow. Flood the nations with grace and mercy. Send forth your word, Lord, and let there be light. Lord, I come to your awesome presence from the shadows into your radiance. By the blood I may enter your brightness. Search me, try me, consume all my darkness. Shine on me. Shine on me. Shine, Jesus, shine. Fill this land with the Father's eyes on your kingly brightness, so our faces display your likeness, ever changing from glory to glory. Mirrored here, may our lives tell your story. Shine on me. Shine on me. Shine, Jesus, shine. Fill this land with the Father's glory. Place, Spirit, place. Set our hearts on fire. Flow, river, flow. Flood the nations with grace and mercy. Send forth your word, Lord, and let there be light. Father, I pray that as a church, Lord, that we will be the mirror and the hope of you for the rest of the world, Lord, that as we sit in your presence, Lord, we will look more Lord, forget us looking like you, Lord. You will fill us with your spirit, and that will pour out of us, God. We praise your name, and may you be glorified. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you, Kendra, for leading us. Prayer requests. We've got those there in front of you. And so if there are any, I realize I don't have a pen. I think I got a pen over here. Yep, okay. Any additions or subtractions? I know Kathy handed me one just a moment ago. That Sam Broughton, having surgery tomorrow morning to remove a tumor from his temple area. So you could add him to the list. That would be good. So tomorrow morning is when that surgery is. Okay. 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 Any others? What was your last name? I'm sorry. Skinner. Okay. And the brother going off life support. You said that's happening tonight? Okay. Also, we're glad Kimbra's back, doing well. So she's back there. So and she can talk. Talk after all those teeth and stuff getting moved around. Yeah, that's good. So glad you're here and back. Any other additions or maybe ones that you'd say, we can maybe take them off or update them? Unspoken? Okay. Okay. Yes. Okay. Okay. So awesome. What's his name? Kevin Russell. Okay. Disaster relief. Good deal. I know Zach will look Sunday during our welcome time, briefly just about his time too. His asked for leave, and it's a lot of work that's ongoing and will continue to be ongoing, and all those sorts of things. So, any others? Sorry, I thought that was still on there. I apologize. Should be still on there, but okay. How long is she gonna be on a mission trip? Through this week. Okay. How is she recovering from her car accident? Good enough. Yeah. Good. Teenagers pretty resilient. Yeah. 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 Started to get a little older, So I saw there's a pastor on Facebook that fell, hurt himself. Not Pup Rogers. Some of y'all might be thinking about Pup. Different pastor. Not as severely as Pup, but he said you can tell the age of people that how they respond, how old they are. The people that laugh about you falling are probably younger people. They're like, oh, that's really funny. People that are getting a little older, they go, that's a serious thing. It's a serious ball game. We're not no laughing matters. So I think of that the teenagers, they're just, I don't know. I'm getting close to 40. I'd be like, whew. I don't know if I want to go on a plane to Canada, but man, yeah, but when you're that young, pretty resilient for sure. I'm sure too. I mean, many of y'all know Pup. I think enough, and he broke his knee and fractured his fibula on the other one, and he's in a chair that's motorized now, like a motorized chair that he's able to get around in. He's got a big long cast on one, but you probably go ahead and add him to the list. I'm sure many of y'all have been praying for him, but I know he was at this church a long time ago, but I'm sure still many of y'all have maybe fond memories of him. If you don't, let me know and I'll remind him. No, I'm just kidding. But no, I love Pup and praying for him. He just started at FBC Duncan, and so that's not an easy way to start, But that church will be good to him, and they'll be very thankful they have him as their pastor for sure. So, okay. Any others? Good. Awesome. That's great. That's very important, especially in a Baptist church. You don't have many cooking teams. It's gonna be tough. So tough. Oh man. Well, it happens. It happens. It happens. Anything else? Any other ones? Okay. Well, let's do what we've been normally doing. We'll silently pray together. You can lift up one of these needs or as many needs as you would like. Pray for them. And then after a few moments of silently praying together, I'll close us in prayer. So let's pray. Father, we thank you that you hear us. We thank you we can come before you with needs and requests. We pray to be with each and every one of these situations that we've mentioned. You know all these needs. You know what's going on in their life. I certainly do pray just for, especially right now this evening, a family, a Skinner family that's dealing with just a really difficult, um, horrible situation, having to take a loved one off life support. And I pray you be with that family. I pray that your presence be with them the only way that you can. And pray for any other needs that maybe were missed tonight. We know that you know them. And we pray that as we open your word, that you speak to us and you challenge us. We ask all this, Jesus, in your name. Amen. Amen. All right, we're going to be in Psalm 2. Second Psalm. Second Psalm. I mentioned last week briefly that Psalm 1 and 2 really set the you know the tone for the whole book of Psalms. And so Psalm 1 and 2 really set that tone and whatnot. And the thing is I don't know how many of y'all played video games when you were at one point in your life. I don't know. I feel like I'm looking maybe, okay, one. Oh, Debbie getting called out. So, but you got some back. Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you for representing. So, me and my brother would play video games when we were kids, and um, I'm the oldest. So naturally, when I was losing a game, I would do what any big brother does, and I would, halfway through that game I was losing, I would turn the console off. And yeah, and then they'd be like, well, what are you doing that? Well, now we have to start over. All right. So that was kind of the point of that, right? The thing is we read through the Psalms, and I think one of the things that they're trying to get us back to is humanity in a lot of ways, right, probably wishes for a do-over, right? We wish there was a button we could hit, we could start over. Because it seems like this human existence, experiment, whatever we want to call it, that started at the beginning of the scriptures, and obviously because of the moment that happens in Genesis chapter 3, where Adam and Eve fall and succumb to the temptation, that humanity is just thrown into a literal death spiral, right, of sin and death and disobedience. And I'm sure that many times human beings, I'm sure Adam and Eve themselves probably thought, man, if we could just have a do-over, right? If we could go back, we'd probably make a different decision. And one of the things I think is important is from the moment in the fall that we see the fact that God, not that he's going to go back and say we're going to do this over, but he is going to find a way to reverse the curse, so to speak, right? To reverse what has happened. And we see that promise in Genesis chapter 3. You don't have to turn there, but you can go back and look at it later. But Genesis chapter 3, verse 15, it says, and he says this specifically to the snake and then to Eve, says, I will put hostility between you and the woman, between your offspring and her offspring. He will strike your head, and you will strike his heel. And in this moment, what God is telling Eve and is telling the serpent is because of what you've done, there's going to come a descendant from the woman that's going to crush your head. It's going to kill you, basically, right? And there's some literal symbolism that's happening in this moment. It's saying that there's going to be a promised human descendant from Eve that's going to come and is going to reverse or right what the serpent has wronged, right? Going to reclaim what the serpent has done by ushering in sin and death by getting Adam and Eve to fall into this temptation. And so all throughout the Old Testament, I know I've mentioned this a couple of times, but it's important because it's really the backdrop of Psalm 2. All right, so when we read Psalm 2, it's a very important backdrop that we understand the Old Testament narrative that leads up to this particular psalm. But we know that there's all these promises that get littered throughout the Old Testament. I mean, obviously the fact that this human descendant that will come from Eve will crush the head of the serpent. He will eventually, we get to Abraham, and we find out that this descendant will actually come from Abraham as well. Abraham is also a descendant of the woman. There will be a descendant of Abraham eventually down the road. There will be this descendant who the whole world will be blessed through. And the undertones of that is that whoever this human being is, that the whole world will be blessed through, is the picture of restoring humanity back to Eden. Right? Because that's the really tension point of the narrative when it starts out in Genesis. If you've ever read a book and you're like, what's the tension point in the story? The tension point is that human beings have been kicked out of God's presence because of their own doing. So then the question is, how do we get back into the very presence of God? How do we get back to Eden, right? How do we go back to where human beings were supposed to be living in the presence of God as God's creatures, as his image bearers, but instead we find ourselves outside of Eden in a place that is ruled by its sin and death, right? That's the kind of the tension of the biblical story early on. So God makes this promise, this descendant will come, and if you're following the Old Testament story, you're looking for this descendant, right? You look, man, there's Cain and Abel. Clearly they're not it. You get to Seth, maybe Seth is it. Maybe it's Noah. You get on down the line. Maybe it's one of Noah's sons. Maybe it's Abraham. Maybe it's Isaac. Maybe it's Jacob. Maybe it's Joseph. You just continue to go on and down the line. Who is this promised one who will come and restore all things? But there's hints of the promise throughout. So he will be a descendant of Abraham, who the whole world will be blessed through in Genesis chapter 12, verses 1 through 3. And then later on, when we get to the end of Genesis, we find out that he will be from the tribe of Judah. And it tells us that all nations will find their obedience in him. So this isn't just somebody that's going to affect just the tribe of Israel, the tribe of Judah. It's going to affect the whole world. So you take the fall of humanity, humanity falling into sin. You take Abraham and the whole world being blessed through his descendant, and then you get to one of Abraham's great-great-grandsons, and you find out that that descendant, one of his descendants, Judah's descendant, will rule the whole world, right? So you begin to connect these dots. Are you tracking with this? Does this make sense? Okay, so you're connecting these dots. Whole world's going to be blessed by this descendant, and not only that, but this descendant will rule over the whole world, right? That's the picture that's being painted on. Crush the head of the serpent, be a descendant from Abraham who will bless the entire world. Part of that blessing is that he will rule over the entire world. And then when you get into places like when it's, the covenant we find with David, that he will also be a son of David whose throne will never cease to end, right? Because David, who was, of course, in the line of Judah, God makes a covenant in 2 Samuel 7, verses 5 through 16, to make a covenant to establish David's throne forever, and the scepter will never depart from you. And so that wasn't a new thing that God was doing in that moment. It was just echoing and doubling down on the promise that he made to Judah all the way back in Genesis chapter 49. The scepter will never depart from you, and there will become a descendant from you that will rule forever over all of the nations. And even later, I don't know, this may be a lot or maybe a little, I don't know, but you get to Daniel 7, and we find there's this human figure, this Son of Man figure, who comes on the clouds of heaven, right? Daniel, who though is not a descendant of Judah, he is part of the tribe of Judah. He is part of the royal tribe. Sees this vision of this Son of Man, human figure, coming on the clouds of heaven, is escorted in front of the Ancient of Days, and is given dominion and authority and a kingdom that is everlasting, and all people will follow his rule and reign. And also the picture of ruling and reigning in that context would have been in the context of someone who was in fact divine, right? So all this is being fleshed out in the Old Testament, right? All of these pictures of this sort of Davidic, this descendant from David who is going to come and who will rule over all the nations. The unique thing, though, about Daniel 7 is that person will actually rule and reign with God as God as well. And so that's where things twist a little bit. And of course, as we know, when Jesus shows up, his favorite title for himself is the Son of Man. That's what he refers to himself as, echoing Daniel 7. So I chased a little bit of a rabbit there. That may not come back into play too much tonight, but it's fun to know, right? Maybe. No? Okay. Probably like, I don't know if we need to know that, but the point is that every time that somebody, here's another important thing to know about Psalms 2 before we jump in, is that Psalm 2 is actually a coronation psalm. It was actually spoken over the new king of Israel, the one that would reign and sit on the throne of David, sit on the throne of Judah, in the line of Judah. This was a psalm that was read over them, just like when we see, the presidential inaugurations. There's certain things that they swear to, they promise to do. There's certain things that are spoken over them. This was a psalm that was read over them, and we'll get into some of the images of it, because ultimately what this psalm celebrates is, one, the coronation of a king, but also looks forward to this descendant who would come and rule and reign in the line of David, who would rule for all time over the nations and crush the head of the serpent. So Psalm 2 is looking at the very present moment when they were doing the coronation of a king, but also looking to the day when God would fulfill the promise he made all the way back to Eve. So, if you're with me, say I am. Okay. And if you're not, then we can talk afterwards, and I apologize for confusing you. But it's all in there, I promise. Okay. So, Psalm 2, verse 1. So again, the imagery is, think of this as being pronounced over a king soon to lead over God's people. Why do the nations rage and the peoples plot in vain? The kings of the earth take their stand, and the rulers conspire together against the Lord and his anointed one. Let's tear off their chains and throw their ropes off of us. The one enthroned in heaven laughs. The Lord ridicules them. Then he speaks to them in his anger. He terrifies them in his wrath. I have installed my king on Zion, my holy mountain. I will declare the Lord's decree. He said to me, "You are my son. Today I have become your father. Ask of me, and I will make the nations your inheritance, and the ends of the earth your possession. You will break them with an iron scepter. You will shatter them like pottery. So now, kings, be wise. Receive instruction, you judges of the earth. Serve the Lord with reverential awe and rejoice with trembling. Pay homage to the Son, or he will be angry, and you will perish in your rebellion. For his anger may ignite at any moment. All who take refuge in him are happy." So, it kind of echoes back, right? It's a little bit of a bookend to Psalm 1. How happy is the one who does not walk in the advice of the wicked. And now this psalm ends at, all who take refuge in him are happy. It's a little bit of a bookend. That's the reason Psalm 1 and 2 kind of function together. Like I said, Psalm 2 is considered a royal psalm. It's a coronation psalm for the king. In Acts 4:25, Peter tells us, he says, "You said through the Holy Spirit, by the mouth of our father David, your servant, why do the Gentiles rage and the peoples plot futile things?" So Peter recognizes the fact that this was something that was inspired by the Holy Spirit to David, that David more than likely penned, or did pen and write down. And like I said, it had been used for coronations or similar celebrations. And the other thing is that we know that Israel was eventually led into exile, including the southern kingdom of Judah and the king on the throne of David. All of this happened due to their sin and rebellion. And so even though there was moments, right, when Israel was its own king, they would still do this psalm. They would still pronounce this psalm over the incoming king. They also knew, because of their sin and rebellion that we see throughout the prophets and the latter part of the Old Testament, that their sin had exiled them, had allowed other nations to rule over them. And so in many ways, they felt like the hope of that psalm may be lost. And so then what they began to do is they began to pronounce and say this song as a reminder of the hope they have in the Lord, that one day the Lord would fulfill that promise. Because while things were going good, they may say this over a king and hope that this king would in fact fulfill that in that moment. They said it over maybe Solomon, right? Solomon, David's son. Maybe they said it over Solomon, hoping maybe Solomon will be the one. David failed. David messed up. Maybe Solomon will be the one who will be the one to truly crush the head of the serpent, that all nations will find their place, their rule and reign under the king, and more importantly, under Yahweh himself. And we know Solomon messes up and is not that guy. And so they began to look to the future, kind of the glory days a little bit, right? Like nostalgia is a powerful drug, isn't it? Okay, I said the word drug in church. I'm sorry. Some of y'all got nervous. But nostalgia is a pretty powerful thing. I mean, we listen, I grew up, I'm not, I'm a little bit younger than some of you. A little bit younger. Not a lot bit, a little bit. And I feel like my Instagram reel is filled with like 90s nostalgia. I mean, that's when I grew up. I grew up in the 90s. Maybe that's a different decade for you, but like there's nostalgia about, when we were kids, or when you were a teenager, or when you were married and you had little kids, right? Nostalgia is a very powerful thing. And so one of the things that was happening in this psalm was that it was a little bit of a nostalgia trip. Like, remember when things were good under David, right? Remember how great, like, David was. I mean, you got to think about it. David was the man. He was a national hero. I mean, that guy was, before he was even king, they were already singing songs about how, Saul's killed his hundreds and David's killed his thousands, I mean, that's legendary, epic, kind of stuff. And so they're looking back to kind of the glory days as they find themselves in exile. They're looking back and going, man, things were really, really good then when we were trying to be faithful to the Lord. And so we're going to look back and allow nostalgia in that sense to be a really good thing, but to allow us and remind us that, man, if we could get back there to being faithful followers of the Lord, that things could be good again. So, it's a psalm looking forward, but also that it was a psalm where they longed for this great Messiah King, right? The Christ, the anointed one of God who would usher in like a cosmic and universal rule and reign. And as I mentioned with the Son of Man passage in Daniel 7, as God himself. Psalm 2, as we can probably guess, finds its ultimate fulfillment in Jesus. Jesus fulfills this psalm because he is one who is in the line of David, right? He's a descendant of the woman. He is a descendant of Abraham. He is a descendant of Judah. He's a descendant of David. And so he's in that line, that promised line, that this ruler would come, this blessing would come, he would bless the whole world, this one who would crush the head of the serpent. All these things are fulfilled in the person of Jesus. In fact, the second psalm is one of the most quoted psalms in the New Testament. It was one of the disciples' most favorite psalm to use. Because in the back of their mind, they understood what this psalm meant for the history of their people. It looked forward to a day when they could truly see the true Son, right? The true King, who God would say, today, this prophecy has been fulfilled. Today, this Son will rule and reign as King for all time. And so it pointed to a human ruler, but it also points to an eternal ruler. And like I said, they would apply Psalms 2 to the Messiah as an explanation even of Jesus, of the crucifixion of Jesus by the rulers, the nations, all of this. They conspired together against the Messiah. And Paul applied it to his own ministry, saying that God's stamp of approval on the person of Jesus was the fact that he was resurrected from the dead. And Jesus, as we'll see this week in Philippians chapter 2, Jesus is exalted as the risen Lord, but also as the one who fulfills this prophecy. That he is the Son who becomes the reigning and conquering King through his perfect life, through his sacrificial death, and because of his victorious resurrection. It is the moment where God the Father puts his stamp of approval on Jesus, the Son, in the flesh, saying this truly is everything that he said about himself. This is the Christ, the one who fulfills this promise. And so they would look forward to this until the day when one would come who would rule all nations. But there's a couple of things we can pick up in this psalm too. One, and we see this time and time again throughout the Psalms, is the foolishness of rebellion, right? Notice how it starts off. Why do the nations rage and the peoples plot in vain? The kings of the earth, they take their stand. The rulers conspire together against the Lord and his anointed one, saying, let's tear off their chains. Let's throw off their ropes off of us. The one enthroned in heaven laughs, then ridicules them, speaks to them in his anger and terrifies them in his wrath, saying, I have installed my king on Zion, my holy mountain. And even talking about how you'll break them with your iron scepter, they'll shatter like pottery, and a warning to the kings of the earth. Be wise, because this is not just any king, but this is the king that God himself has established to rule as king. So it opens with this question: why do the nations rage? Why do the people plot in vain? Why do the kings of the earth take their stand and the rulers conspire together against the Lord and his anointed one? It's ultimately a rhetorical question, because if you understand and believe the God of the Bible is who he says he is, it's ultimately futile to try to take your stand against the all-powerful, all-knowing, all-sufficient God and creator of the universe. It's just not gonna matter. The one who spoke light into existence, right? Just by the very power of his own words, just spoke creation into existence, breathed creation and life into Adam. It's interesting, the word plot here is often translated as meditate, right? It's to think. One commentator says the godly meditate day and night on the law of the Lord, which we found in the first psalm. They meditate or they plot on the, like it's a picture, like if you plot, it's you're planting yourself there, right? You're thinking about it. You're making it a part of your DNA, who you are. And so some would say the godly meditate day and night on the law of the Lord. They plot day and night on the law of the Lord. But the defiant nations, they meditate in empty, foolish rebellion against God and his authority. Constantly thinking of schemes and ways to find ways to strip off the chains that they think are there from the Lord. Even though these nations and leaders, they may be brilliant, right, in the eyes of the world, they're absolutely foolish to conspire against the Lord. Like them shaking their fist right at the heavens, them shaking their fist the nation or in the face of God. The nation's leaders, they plot, they conspire, they scheme together in how they can overthrow the Lord of heaven. And ultimately, fallen humanity in all our foolishness, right? When we can believe that we can somehow usurp God's authority, we can rule or reign better than the Lord himself. But we know the fact that God is not one who is mocked or ridiculed or scorned. He is the creator of the universe. And so even Peter saw this verse fulfilled in the murder of God's holy servant, Jesus, whom God anointed, who God ultimately was the one who had come in, as God in the flesh, saying that despite the fact that the nations plotted against God to kill his son, right? Despite the fact that they plotted together to put Jesus to death on the cross, it actually was their ultimate undoing, because through them scheming, through them plotting, through them, even the enemy himself thinking that somehow he had won, God uses that, uses their own rebellion, their own arrogancy, right, to ultimately bring about redemption for those that would trust in him through his death and resurrection. And so they're standing, they're shaking their fists, they're being defiant. They're saying, we'll tear off our chains, we'll throw the ropes off of us. Right? Like in other words, they see the authority of the Lord on their lives, and they don't want anything to do with it. Authority isn't just rejected, but it's thrown off, right? It's kind of supposed to give you this imagery of them being real dramatic, kind of divas about it, like we're just going to throw it off really dramatically. I won't act it out for you, but you can get there. They can't stand the idea of even later on, when the disciples would quote this, of Jesus, who is the rightful king, the one whom Psalm 2 looked to, having absolute lordship and authority over their lives. Instead, they declare freedom from the Lord and his anointed, and they're proud to do so. And ultimately, what does this do? This goes back to the garden. Adam and Eve, they thought, you know what? We're going to do things our way, and we think that will go better, right? And the reality is, as we know, it doesn't go better. Many of you have had maybe you have kids or grandkids. Like when Noah was a lot younger, she's a lot more obedient now. Just kidding, she is, but it's not so much. She's just a lot more articulate now in her telling us what she would like. But I remember when she was little, we'd go walk on the street, and she was like 3 or maybe 2 or 3, and she really liked to walk independently of us, right? Like she, like most kids, they want a little independent. I'm going to get out there, I'm going to walk, I'm going to do my thing. But of course, we stood pretty close to her because we're good parents. And when a car came or was coming, we would say, all right, hey, it's time to grab daddy's hand or mommy's hand, and because there's a car coming, we want to hold on to you, right? Because you're flight risk a little bit, right? So we're going to hold on to you. And I think 1 out of 10 times she would just, whatever she was doing, she'd just immediately reach up and grab our hand, right? The other 9 times she would say no. And not nicely, but very much like, no. And she'd flail her arms, and she'd get mad, and she'd say, you're not holding my, she's not happy with it, right? Now, again, as good parents, naturally, we just said, okay, well, I don't care what you think. I'm going to grab your hand. I'm going to hold it because here's the reality. I know more about how this street works than you do, right? I know more about how the world works than you do. I know more how this car works than you do. I know more of the risk of what could happen than you do, right? And you're very, very small, childlike, finite, but you don't fully comprehend all the things that could go wrong. But in her brain, she thinks, I know better than you. And we look at that and we be like, that's crazy, right? Because what logical parent's going to look at their 2-year-old and go, sweetie, you're right. You know better than us. You're right. We're not gonna threaten your independence or anything like that. No, I mean, we know better because we're parents. We're older. Like, we understand how the world works. And so the absolute result and the foolishness of rebellion that we see in this passage is that as human beings with finite brains, right, that live in a world that, I mean, I think we only know so much about. Like, we've only discovered like 4% of the oceans on our planet, which takes up, I think, 70% of the earth, which, if my math is right, that means we don't know a majority of what's on our own planet. But we're really, really smart, all right? We made a rocket and we went to the moon. It's like, cool, that's great. And then God's like, hey, I created like an entire universe and I just thought it into existence like that. But cool rocket ship, right? So good luck figuring out what's in those oceans, right? Probably, no, I'm just kidding. Probably a sea monster. No, there's not. Don't worry. But here, the point is that it's foolishness, because it's like, if God really is the creator of all things, is really all-knowing, all-powerful, all these things, and the absolute absurdity of human beings going, yeah, we know better than God, becomes more and more ludicrous when we think about it. But yet, that's exactly what's happening here in Psalms 2, is that they are just going, yeah, we know better than you. And then we see the result. The result is the Lord just laughs at them, even ridicules them, speaks to them in his anger. He terrifies them in his wrath. Notice how it goes from a little bit more of a merciful response to a much more terrifying response. A laugh is like, okay. But then terrifying in the judgment, that's pretty serious. I don't know if maybe we see a picture, I may be stretching it here, but right, like, God offers his mercy for a time for us to accept. But then there's a moment where one day, if we reject that mercy and salvation that God offers us, we will stand before the Lord without any covering for our sin. And instead of a merciful God, we will face a God who is the rightful judge, who will hold us accountable for our sins. And without the covering of Jesus and his perfect righteousness, we will be left having to make up for that. And that's a debt that we are unable to pay. So he laughs, he ridicules them, he terrifies them in his wrath, and he reminds them of the fact that despite your plans, despite what you believe you are going to do or accomplish, I've already installed my king. In other words, God is saying, I've already made my plans, right? Like the world's moving in a direction towards a destination, whether you like it or not. Like everything is pointing to where God is leading it, where one day he will come back, he will fix the wrongs, he will eliminate sin and death, he will eliminate evil, do all those things. Like, God one day will bring all things to an end. So all things are ending in the fact that God has installed his king on Zion. God has installed his king to rule and reign over all of the nations, over all of the earth, over all of creation. And there's just nothing, is what he's saying here in this psalm, is there's just absolutely nothing that you can do to stop it. You can try, but you won't succeed. It's futile. Resistance is futile, basically. I don't know if that's Star Trek or Star Wars or something else. I don't know. Nobody? You guys are, okay. You guys don't know either. That's good. So we're on the same page. It's like, it doesn't matter what you do, everything's going this way. Doesn't matter what you do, everything's going this direction. Just like with Noah. It doesn't matter what you do, I'm still just going to grab onto your hand, because this is just how this is going to go down. And eventually, ultimately, the sort of simple translation of Psalms 2 is God is saying, why do you plot? Why do you plan? Why do you try to be rebellious when you know that everything is headed in this direction? All things, as Colossians 1 say, will find their place, their rule in the person of Jesus. Actually, we're gonna read, I'll give you a spoiler alert, or not spoiler alert, but sermon preview, right? We get to the passage in Philippians chapter 2, verses 5 through 11, which is probably more than likely, most scholars agree that it's an early church hymn. But at the end of it, it said, at the name of Jesus, every knee will bow, every tongue will confess, both on the earth, under the earth, visible, invisible, that Jesus Christ is Lord. And I think for some, maybe in the church, that we've taken that interpretation that every knee will bow, every tongue will confess, just as those will just be believers. All right, Like those are just Christians that will be doing the bowing and the confessing. But that's not what Paul says. Paul says every knee will bow, every tongue will confess, both in heaven, both under the earth, both on the earth, both visible, invisible rulers. That means spirits and principalities, even Satan himself, one day will bend the knee and confess that Jesus is Lord. And they'll confess with their mouth that Jesus is in fact who he said he was. But that won't be a moment of salvation for them. It'll be a moment of condemnation because it's too late for them to receive the grace and mercy of Jesus. And so it's either going to be a really fun, joyful, yeah, I'm already on my knees going, hey, Jesus is Lord. Or it's going to be just the ultimate submission of saying, I was wrong. And that's what the warning here is in Psalm 2. You can either choose to bend the knee now, or you can bend the knee later. But one way or the other, you will bend the knee and you will confess that Jesus is Lord. It's better to do it now rather than do it later. And so, the wise response, receive instruction. Be wise. Be thoughtful. Honor the Son, who we know is Jesus, who is God's Son, God in the flesh, so that your rebellion won't be held against you. So, the wise response, confess that Jesus is, in fact, the promised Son and ruler and King from Psalm 2. And do it now rather than later. So, that's all I've got. Questions, comments, concerns? This is a Christian Standard Bible, a CSB. So, yeah. I think it used to be the Holloman Bible, or Holman. Yeah. So it was developed by Lifeway, and yeah, all that good stuff. So, yeah. Any other questions, thoughts, comments? Yeah. 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 That's good. That's a good point. Yeah. I mean, yeah, Jesus does. Yeah. I mean, even making Pilate think like, man, kingdom not of this world. What does that mean? But yeah, no, it's now. But yeah. So, but no, not then. It was probably a challenging thing. Anyone else? All right. Well, I believe next week we'll be in Psalm 8. So if you felt a little bit after this one, you're like, okay, we talked a lot. That one won't be. We won't nerd out as much unless you just really want to. So yeah. Okay. Let me pray for us. Glad y'all are here tonight. I hope you have a good rest of your week, and we will see you on Sunday. So let's pray. Father, thank you for your word, and we thank you for this psalm. Even though as God's people would say it over a king and recite it over a king, Lord, that king would continue to come up empty. We're thankful that we know Jesus, through you becoming human, living a perfect life, dying a sacrificial death, and being resurrected, that in that moment you fulfill this psalm as the conquering king, who's not just any earthly king, but is the king that was prophesied, the one to crush the head of the serpent, the one to be a blessing to the whole world, the one to rule over all of the nations, and the one who was like a son of man who came and was given dominion and power and authority to rule and reign. I pray that you be with us as we go out from here. I pray we'd have a good rest of our week. And I pray we'd live lives that submit to your lordship and your reign in our lives, both here and now. We ask all this, Jesus, in your name. Amen. Amen. You are dismissed. Christmas.